What's happening, guys? ObiShane here. How's everybody doing? I recently completed a Degobah Edition Graflex. Thought I'd do a little video here to talk about it, go through the process, tell you guys what I did and what I used and that sort of stuff. Okay, so first things first, we'll go over what I put on it. Okay, well, let's go over the obvious. This is a Degobah, not a ranch. Red button missing on top here. Red button on the bottom. This is the original button that came with the flash. The glass eye that came on it still got that super crusty fused on there. That thing was fun to get off, let me tell you. As you can see, the flash itself is pretty crusty. Lots of rust, a lot of character, a lot of weathering, that sort of stuff. When I got it, I could obviously, open the clamp lever. I couldn't move the rear of the flash. It was that fused on there. Thought about hitting it with some PB Blaster and letting it soak, but I just didn't want to deal with the mess, you know what I mean? So I went ahead and since I was going to pop it out anyways, because this version requires it, I popped out the pin that holds the lever with the clamp screw underneath it, and then pried open the clamp, and that allowed me to just pull the can off and then clean it up a little bit. Didn't want to clean it up too much, mind you, so it's pretty similar to what it looked like when it showed up. I did clean up the metal a little bit. It was a little, I don't know, maybe a little dull, I guess. I don't know where this thing has been sitting, but it's definitely seen a lot of moisture, and the finish on the Graflex was quite dull, so I gave it a little bit of a polish, cleaned it up, and before I did all the mounting. Okay, moving back, I got the painted Phillips screws that are as close as I can find to the size and shape of vintage X-Acto screws, which I've had in my possession. While I had them, I went ahead and I kind of got lucky and got some screws that were within a few thou of the actual size of the X-Acto screws. Same shape on the dome, shape cut on the Phillips. So it was a decent little score there. So I went ahead and I used the same ones on this that I had used on one of my own personal builds. And it got some flathead screws on top, not painted, of course. These are slotted, and the head size is pretty dang close to what I can see on the Ranch Saber. I use the Ranch Saber as reference. The theory is that at least the back of the Ranch Saber is the same as the Degobah Saber. So I went ahead and I used the Ranch Saber's close-ups as reference for these screws. These grips are glued to the flash. The screws don't protrude into the flash, which is kind of a pain actually. It'd be easier to screw them and drill them in than it would for me to shorten all the screws, glue them into the grips, epoxy them in, make them sure that they're there to stay. I mean, I thread into the plastic and stuff like that, but still you add a little bit of glue just to make sure, and then make sure that they don't protrude through the plastic of the grips and have contact with the flash, because that'll give you a high point and it won't sit right. So I did that. So Wanga grips, I think, yes, and Wanga Kobold on the back, rivets. The Ranch Saber has the Kobold flipped and the brass screws in it, which are exactly the same size as this one that I think that they used for the lever, which is what attaches the lever. Actually, the pin is removed and the lever is screwed in right here. There's a couple of things that are not dead nuts accurate to, obviously, to the Degobah. One being the angle of the square washer in here. It's kind of tilted up, sitting a little bit sideways. Obviously the rust marks are not accurate, but this is an extremely fun build. Actually, I recommend anyone who gets their hands on a pretty crusty one of these to, you could go ranch, but the ranch isn't screen accurate per se, but it's, you could do that, or you could do something like this and then do a Degobah one. So let's see what else. Chrome strip, around the clamp. This is something I sourced myself. This is not TCSS or Wangas or any other guys that sell these. I got my own. Let's see. I don't know if I mentioned riveted the Kobold. Not actually riveted. The rivets are riveted into the Kobold, but it's not riveted into the can of the Graflex. So there are no screws into the Graflex. So I didn't modify or damage that per se. I did clearly drill, countersunk, and then tapped the brass screw into the clamp band. So I did do that. Had to do that though. That's one modification I kind of got to do. Can't get away with not doing that. But if I, now when I'm doing vintages, unless I get asked, I don't drill, tap, or screw into the can. Just kind of, one of those things I did before, but I don't do anymore. And it's fine like this. I've done these. I've never gotten any feedback of them popping off. But then I don't think that most people are kind of gripping them real hard, waving them around. It's hard to say. I'd say if you're building a user, or if you're building a prop, a static prop or something like that, collectible, I think this is perfectly acceptable, and it has been in testing, working fantastic. I mean, it did for A New Hope. And then when they got to the cold and the moisture, then the adhesive started failing, and then that's when you started seeing grips on these, or screws on the grips on these. So let's see, I think I pretty much mentioned everything. So yeah, the glass eye was horrible to get off. All of these chowder marks and whatnot were on the saber when I got it. So didn't add to any of that stuff. Still got the eye, original bulb. I didn't modify or damage the bulb socket any. There is some damage to this, but I just kind of wanted to leave that. Same with the grips too, man. The grips are just, yeah, they're a little bit jacked up. Different lengths in them. Not all of them are the same, and they're kind of chunks out of the corner and stuff like that. I just kind of didn't want to do that. And also, yeah, and the distance from the clamp, I mean, you could see it, like each grip almost is a different grip from the clamp. So I kind of, when I'm doing these now, I have Scott to thank for this. I don't, there needs to be like the human element involved when you start putting these together. If you make every grip perfect or every this thing perfect, it kind of just looks like a, it looks like a machine stitched, piece of fabric or something like that. It doesn't look handmade, and these things are kind of handmade. So the human factor really does come through when you make these props. Not, I think, obsessing about everything being absolutely perfect. I mean, you need to take a lot of care in when you build these, but absolutely a lot of care. But as far as like grip placement and stuff being absolutely dead on, I don't really think that's, I used to be that way. I don't really think that's nearly as much of an issue as what people are making it out to being. I mean, you need to do a good job in everything that you do, no matter what it is. And in doing a good job, I'm trying to make these things look as if they're done by hand and reflect what we see. So the grips are not perfectly aligned with the clamp. They never are. They're a little bit to the side. I see guys putting them in the middle. They're not like that if you look at the screens, unless your eyes are seeing something mine or not, I don't know. And then the Kobold is a little bit off. It's pretty almost, I get it as close as I can with the way that I see it. So be careful of the whole template stuff. Like, it's, yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, build the props the way you want. I can just talk like about specifically how I do them and whatnot. So, the clamp card is a Solos Hold ESB clamp card. It, getting a lot of reflection here. It is silver traced. The traces look, they're done by hand, obviously. And the back of the card comes, let me see, I've got one right here. It comes with the Solos Hold already on it, so it's painted, which I'm not sure was intentional or not when he did it. He kind of just, because he does it on his TFU2 cards, and then he made these just for the fun of it, just to see how they'd turn out. I got let's see, I got a bunch of his TFU2 cards here, and they're also painted with the Solos Hold underneath it. But what that ended up doing was it ended up making it look a lot like the Otis cards that I've seen, the vintage Otis cards. And I like it, actually. I like it a lot. So that worked out. Wow, we're in 12 minutes already talking about a static prop. Holy crap. So that's all I got, guys. And you guys deserve a medal if you've been sitting here this long. This was a long chat. So thanks for watching. If you got any questions, go ahead and ask them, man. I usually get just a handful of comments on my videos, so I don't really have to stress out about a lot of questions or anything like that. But I'll probably post this on the Facebook as well. And well, thanks for hanging in there, and see you guys later.